Hi, and welcome to the walkthrough for the holidays greeting card templates. So when you first get your file, you're going to be directed to a page that looks like this. You just hit on Use Template, and that will bring you directly into your own Canva account, and everything will be ready to go for you to adjust to your own specifications. Okay, the first thing that you might want to do is head over to File and make a copy, and that's just so that you have the master file available for you at any time. So if you take a few left turns, you can always start from scratch without having to re-download the file. So the next thing that you're going to want to do is, you might be wondering why this is upside down, and that's because when the card is folded, it's not going to be upside down, it's going to be right side up. So it might be a little bit difficult for you to envision how you want things to look on the back. Everything is perfectly spaced as is, but if you want to make any adjustments, what I would suggest is selecting the element, the first element, hitting Shift on your keyboard, and while you continue to hold Shift, select all of these other guys, and that will group these items together. Then I can rotate this 180 degrees, and this will give me a better idea of just spacing and how everything looks, and it just makes things a lot easier when you're designing right side up. So once you're done changing all this information and you're happy with how it looks, then you just go ahead, select the first item, hit Shift on your keyboard, and keep holding Shift as you select everything, and then rotate it back before you send this to print, or else it will not print properly. So you definitely want them to be mirror images like this of each other. So what I'm going to do is walk you through card by card, because there are certain things to consider with each design. So if you are using only one card, then you can skip ahead to the card that you're specifically using, or you can watch the entire thing, because there might be a few tips that you can pick up along the way. So with this first card, there is a texture overlay. So when I move that, you'll see that there's the red behind it. So if you want to change the color, what you got to do is you have to move this overlay out of the way, and then select the red background and change it to whatever color you'd like. So you might have your own brand colors, in which case you would head over to this color wheel and put in the hex code for your own brand color there. And let's just say it's something like that. And then you can move the overlay back over. Now you might not like this texture overlay, so I'm just going to show you what it looks like without. You can delete it, and it can just be a nice clean front of the card. I kind of like the distress look, so I put it in. Now this is a custom overlay that we created outside of Canva, so in order to change the color of it, there's an easy way to do it in Canva, but if you are a stickler for exact coloring, then you can head over to fourthstreetcreative.com/tutorials, and there is a tutorial there on how you can change PNG images to your own brand colors. So before we do that though, if you just want a very simple way to change this overlay color, you can head over to Adjust, and in this Adjust palette, you can just move the tint slider and then find a shade that you like. Now, once you find that shade that you like, you might want to adjust the saturation of it, and you can get really close to any brand color that you're looking for here just by doing this. Now you can also head over to Effects and do this color mix, and in this color mix, it actually has even more options for you. And you can see that there's sliders within it. You can adjust the slider. So you can see that you can really, really manipulate the color of any overlay in Canva so easily. Make it nice and white. And then you're going to want to change all of your information here. And then what we've also done is included some inside, if you want to do double-sided cards. This is completely optional. Some people like it, some people don't. So if you don't like it, head over to this garbage can and delete it. You do not need to write anything on the inside of this card, but just like we did up top, I'm going to move this around so that I can see what I'm writing, plan everything out, and then I'm going to move it back over. Now you might want to change the font, in which case you're going to select the font, head over to the font palette, and just select any font that you like. You can adjust the spacing with the spacing tab, and that will adjust the space in between the letters. So if you have a short message, you might want to make it look more full by adding more space between the letters. That's completely up to you. And then you can change the icon as well. You can head over to Elements and say something like Christmas. And then you can just take a look at all the Christmas elements and pop them in here and change the color. One thing to note is that you have to remember that when this is open, you're gonna not want it this way or else it'll be upside down. They're gonna be reading it this way. So always make sure it's facing in this direction. And then you can head over here, change the color of that, and you have your own element in there. So now on to the second card. We have a headshot here without a background, and a lot of realtors will have headshots with backgrounds. If you have the pro version, you head over to Effects and Background Remover, and it's that simple. If you don't have the pro version, then I have included a URL under the notes section, and you can just head over here to remove.bg. You upload your headshot to it, and in the free version, they're not going to give you a high res version of your photo, but it will be high res enough for this card. You usually need high res photos for bigger projects, but because this is a 5x7, you should be fine with a lower res image. So you upload that back into Canva, and then you're going to have a no background headshot that you can put into this project. So for this particular one, again, you can select all these elements, rotate it around, make all the changes and adjustments that you need, and then flip it back over. And for the front here, we have an overlay, again, custom made outside of Canva. So we can't manipulate where everything is in this, but you can move it out of the way and then change the background color. There we go. Let's say I wanted red. I move this back and here. So if you're not happy with the strike through that we have here, you can move this out, you can delete it completely and put happy holidays beneath it. Or if you do want the strike through, then you just match the color to the background color change, and it will give you that strike through illusion on your card. You can change this to Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, anything that you want. And then of course, this is where you're going to put your from information. Now again, if you want to change the color of this overlay, you can head over to adjust and play around with the tint. If you want to add any elements to this, you can type in things like, let's say, house. And then you can add more houses to it to make it look more real estate. Okay, and then you can match everything to it, and I can adjust the transparency here as well to adjust the color. So I can add as many of these houses as I want. I can right-click copy, right-click paste, and just move these guys all over, add as many as I want, and then you'll have more of a real estate presence if you want. I was trying to be as subtle as possible, but you might want to be more obvious with it. And again, inside you can do the same thing that you did above. This one has many moving parts to it, so anything that you want to adjust here, this is completely created with Canva elements. Even this guy here is created by writing for sale in a Canva element here. So you can change anything you want about this structure. So this one's really cool because you get to go to town on with your brand colors. So if your brand colors are blue, for example, you might change this house to blue and then do complementary colors. Maybe a little bit Christmas colors. You can go to town and change anything you want on this card. This is one of my favorites because you really get to customize it for your brand if that's what you want to do. So some realtors like to send out cards that are completely Christmas related, have nothing to do with their brand. Having their name and logo on the back is quite enough. They just want to make it about the holidays. But if you do want to add a little bit more of your brand color, then this is a great way to do that with this card. You can also remove any element you want. So if you don't like this house, you can remove it, and you can just keep the trees and play around with it until you have something that you really like that you can send to clients. Okay, now again, this is something created outside of Canva, so you head over to adjust, and you can change the color like that. You can change the font by heading over to the font palette, and you can change the from. You can put your logo on the front as well if you want, if that's something that you want to do. And with this one, there are some things to know. So all of these boxes have been made into black and white. So when you do bring your photos in to add your own photos, so all of the changes that were applied to each photo frame will be applied to any photo that you drop in there. If you don't want that, then you head over to adjust and just hit this reset button, and it will reset every box into a colored box if that's what you want. Now, I personally dig the black and white, so I'm going to leave it black and white, but you can always change it to your own liking. So now, what if you don't want these to be black? These are actual photos. So when you head over to photo and you hit background, you type in background, you're going to get a whole bunch of backgrounds. And I think I might have used this one here. So if you don't like it, you can choose another background, like even if it's just like a nice gray background, or this one. You can choose whichever one you want. So if you don't want one of these photo backgrounds, then what you can do is head over to Elements, select the square shape, and then just pop it over, size it so it fits right over the other element. And then you have your own color background here. And you can just copy this and paste it and do it for each box. Now, if you're finding that it's not lining up properly, a nice trick is to press Control on your keyboard. So when you start moving it, you hit Control, and that will allow you to have more control over the spacing so it doesn't snap. Canva has the tendency to snap into place. If you don't want that snap, then as you're moving, so you start moving the box first, then you hit Control on your keyboard, and that allows you to completely control exactly where you want the box to end. Now, as you can see, we've covered up the M. So what you want to do is right click and hit Send Backward, and that will reveal the M. And you can do that for each of these until you're happy with it. Now, these are a little bit tricky because, let me type in snow. When I pop into my frame, a lot of the times it'll cut it off because it's an odd shape. So just double click on the frame to move your photo around, and that will allow you to have more control over your popping into the frame. So you just want to double click, and then you can move it around until you're happy with it. And you can do that for all three. So in the background here, we have shapes that have been created. So if you want to change the color, you just have to scoot these out of the way and then change the color to whatever you want. So again, this is a great way to add your brand color. Just scoot and then pop them back into place, and then put your little saying here. You can change the icons if you want. You can change the background color if you want. You might want something darker, something more funky. It's completely up to you. I like the light gray. Then before you go to print, what you're gonna wanna do is hit File and Show Print Bleed. You just extend that out to the line, extend these guys out, and you're good. And you do that for any card that you want. So you just wanna make sure that everything extends to the line and that none of your text is too close. So you don't want your text to be down here. That is way too close to the cut line. So you wanna have a nice healthy margin between the cut line and your text, or else it'll just look sloppy. It won't look like a professional card, and you run the risk of having your text cut off, and nobody wants that, right? So make sure that everything bleeds out. Your files will be all ready for you. You don't have to worry that nothing's bleeding out, but if you do make adjustments while you're designing, it's always good practice to make sure that you head over to File and Show Print Bleed so that you're 100% sure that you're sending the file to the printer correctly. So when you are downloading for print, you have a couple options here. If you're leaving the front of your card blank, then you hit this download button, PDF print. Definitely you want to check this crop marks and bleed. And then instead of downloading all 12 pages, you're just going to download the pages that you want to send to the printer. So if you're using this one card, then you just select that one card and download it, and then your file is ready to go to the printer. If you're selecting a back and front, you select those two together. Now, if you're selecting multiple cards to send to the printer, it's a good idea to save them separately. So you're going to want to save one card and then save another card rather than download the entire thing together as one file. So you would hit done, download this, and this just allows the printer to have a very clear idea of what it is you're printing without any confusion. You don't want mistakes to happen. So when this opens up, you just want to take a quick peek at the crop marks and make sure that your spacing is fine, that there's not any text that's too close to the crop mark, and you want to make sure that you have that everything bleeds out. So right here, I can see that this texture layer has not bled out enough. I have to go fix that. We're running the risk right now of having this brown line print, and that's just going to look a little bit sloppy. So we really want to make sure that everything that we're printing is perfect and ready. So everything looks great and like it's ready to go. And that is it. I hope this was helpful, and if you need any more help, please head over to 4thstreetcreative.com/tutorials, and happy designing.